No, I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them. Tell them no retreat, no surrender. I shall fight till the end of days. I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade. Fire burn all Satan carrier. Father loose all shackles and chain. This morning first thing as I wake up, King David turns Sam to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up. And if your heart rip up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When my cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contract, rip it up. And if your bad mind people, you go meet it up. Pass me the Congo drum and let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it so. No weapon that form against us shall not prevail. No man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Cause I will conquer, no I will conquer, yes I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, no I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them. Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. You're everything, Father. Thank you. Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to feel. And remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wound of life. Send down your warriors with the hello. They carry down to the end of days. No matter how the devil try trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this time is coming. I can see the high tide raise. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we is myself? No weapon that form against us shall not prevail. No man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Cause I will conquer, no I will conquer, yes I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer, no I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them. I am a man. I am a champion. I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the various radio stations. 97.5 CitysoundFM, 89.5 CRFM, 91.9 and 91.5 RealFM Radio, 92.9 Sister Al Radio broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on the live video stream, whether it's on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever it is that you are joining us. Good morning to you. It is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning in the Spice Isle of Grenada. Today is the 6th day of the first month of 2020. And so far, so good. At least for me. I could speak for myself. So far, so good. And of course, in studio with me, I have none other than my co-host, Mr. Roland Bola. Good morning, Mr. Bola.
Good morning, Miss Duncan. It is a wonderful Wednesday. Good morning to our listeners. I recognize for whatever reason it may be, you are still stuck in 2020. Maybe the memories of 2020 are still very much etched in your mind. So it's the second time for the week. I have to remind you that we are in 2021.
I keep saying 2020.
I don't know if you keep saying it, but I've heard you mention it on Monday, and you have done so today? Again. I'm not with you always, so I don't know if you're selective when you say 2020 on and when you say 2021.
It just happening. I don't understand. Maybe I have not adjusted yet.
We are in 2021. I don't know why you keep reminding yourself or telling yourself that you're in 2020. But be that as it may, I presume that as the days and weeks roll by, you're going to acclimatize yourself and get used to 2021. But good morning, Grenada. Good morning to everyone, all our listeners or viewers, by whatever platform, whatever means you are listening. Hard Talk is on. We're happy to have you. It's another beautiful day. It's a little rainy outside, not any heavy downpour so far here in St. George's. But we had 2 or 3 little very short and sharp showers. The weather news did say this morning that sometime during mid-morning into the middle of the day that the weather conditions was going to change. We were going to have some rain, and hopefully it will get better as we approach the afternoon. So whatever your plans are for today, be mindful. If you're leaving the house, don't ever forget your mask, but also you should walk with an umbrella today or some protective covering, because it may well rain during the period that you are out of the house. We also want to say a special good morning to our friends out there in Carriacou. Mr. Mills, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. We had plans to meet before Christmas to drink up some black wine. Keep it there, they say wine gets better with age. Well, some wine.
Some.
Not all wine. There's some wine that deteriorates as you age, but some other wine get better, they say, as it ages. So I hope that will get better. Throughout Grenada, we want to hit up our good friends. It's 2021. It's still early in the year. 6th day in January, the 6th day that we have been blessed to see in a brand new year. So if you have not completed your plans yet as to what your achievements may be for 2021, you still have just a little bit of time to do so.
Absolutely.
For those who have already made the plans and have started working on it, I say kudos to you. You are ahead of time. Well, not really of time, but you are moving with the times, I should probably correct myself to say. And so we congratulate you. For those who felt that they have done sufficiently well in 2020 and need not make much different plans or change much in their plans from 2020, well, you are in the best position to determine that. But whatever it is that you're planning, I just want to encourage you to stick to it. There will be challenges, not because it's a new year, not because it is the start of a new year. It doesn't mean, or it doesn't say that the challenges are going to just disappear. They will be there. In some instances, they may even intensify. And talking about that, Ms. Duncan, we do have the challenge of what do we now do with our teachers and students as it relates to the reopening of school for 2021.
And I'll try my best, Mr. Bola, to be as, because this is something that I feel very strongly about. And sometimes I get a little emotionally carried away when speaking about this, because some things has transpired over the past few days that has really, as they say, gotten my goat. It's really affected me, and I will mention what it is, but for now, I just want to inform the public, because I know people are wondering and waiting to find out, what's going to happen with schools? Are they going to reopen? Are they going to stay closed? Are we going to use a blended approach? Are we just going to go back fully virtual? Well, the Ministry of Education has put out a brief statement on the reopening of schools. I'm not sure if it is a public statement or if it was a statement that was just meant for school, but these days you don't know because everything is always on social media. So, and I want to just take a quick moment to read that to the general public so they have a clear understanding of what's happening. I know the minister was on various radio programs this morning speaking about that herself and the permanent secretary, and I hope persons were listening actively and listening for understanding as well. So I want to take a quick moment to read here. It says the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development, Religious Affairs and Information hereby informs the plan for the engagement of students for the next 2 weeks commencing Monday, January 2021. In keeping with the determination of the Ministry of Health, schools are to ensure that there is adherence to a 6 feet physical distancing protocol for all on-site engagement. And the plans are as follows. Now, please note that the arrangement for the student engagement during week 2 and 3 of this term and be prepared for adjustments which may become necessary based on decisions that are taken at a national level. The plans are schools should communicate these arrangements by Friday, so parents should know to parents by Friday the 8th. So by Friday,
no later than Friday.
Right, no later than Friday.
Before, right?
Right. We parents would know what's happening. So for week 2, commencing January 11, 2021, on site, which is face-to-face instruction for all exit grades of all schools. And just for clarification purposes, we're speaking about the exit grades, Form 5 and grade 6 students, exit grades.
Grade 6 at the primary.
At the primary and Form 5 at the secondary level.
But what's the you for preschoolers? There are the preschoolers who would exit preschool into primary. Would they be considered exit grade?
I'm not sure. That's something we definitely have to clarify.
Just came to mind.
Yes, when I read it also, I wasn't even thinking that. But you are correct, and it's something that we will have to clarify. Right? So all face-to-face instruction for all exit grades of all schools and virtual instruction packages for students in all grades, in all other grades. On-site for schools with a very small population and space for adherence of the 6 feet physical distancing protocol, and of course consultation must be held with the district education officer. So let me just go over week 2 again so we understand what is happening. So from Monday, right, and of course as it said before, adjustments can be made based on what happens on a national level. So this is a current plan. This is what they project happening on Monday. But if something happens over the weekend or in the next couple of days, it may change that trajectory. So I want people to keep that in mind. And as we say, the situation is always ever evolving. Things can change at a moment's notice. So I want people to keep that in mind. So they're saying that on-site or face-to-face instruction for all exit grades, right? I'm not sure, as Mr. Bola mentioned, about the preschool exit level, but we're speaking about exit grades as grade 6 and Form 5, those exit grades, right? Virtual instruction packages for students of all other grades. We know what those virtual instruction packages would include because we've done the virtual thing before, right? It's not a new place for us. Hopefully it's gotten better. Hopefully people have at this point, a year later, acclimated themselves with what the online situation should be like and ways in which they can improve their own personal delivery of whatever lessons and so on they have, right? So on-site for schools with a very small population, and space for the adherence. So if it's a small school and you can...
a school with a
small population, not a small school.
Yeah,
a school with a small population. Basically, in Grenadian parlance, a school with a little bit of children.
Yeah, right.
Right. A school with a little bit of children. Then you can, as long as you can adhere to the 6 feet, the social distance, physical distancing protocols, then of course you are allowed to have on-site. But you can't just say, well, my school is small. You have to consult with the district education officer to make sure that that is done. Now, when we move to week 3, which commences the 18th of January, considering that everything in week 2 went as planned and nothing has changed on a national level, then we can go on to say that there would be an implementation of school-specific plans. Now, the school-specific plans is what we were accustomed to, or what we were made accustomed to from September to some part of November of last year, right? Where the students were rotating and going into school on certain days and so on. So it reads, of course, there would be daily on-site classes for the exit grades. So grade 6 and Form 5 will continue to go to school every day. And of course, maximum possible on-site for all grades as the space allows, a minimum of 1 day per grade level, which means that when they say a maximum possible time, so if you can in any given week, which is it comprises of 5 days, in any given week, if you can accommodate, let's say Form 3 days for the week, then you do that. Form 2 twice for the week, then you do that. Form 1. But it cannot be, well, if it's less than 1 day, it's no days at all. So a minimum of 1 day per grade level. All right? Now, principals or teachers in charge are reminded to work with the district education officer or early childhood education officers and school managers where applicable to update the school's specific plans. These plans will require approval by the chief education officer to inform implementation. Every effort should be made to submit school-specific plans by Friday. Now, this is not a daunting task. It's not hard because it's what we've been using since September.
Duncan, I just prefer we say it should not be too difficult a task.
Okay.
I don't want you to say it's not a hard task because how hard a task becomes is not necessarily what we have to do, but how prepared people are
to do it
mentally and otherwise. You know, you may have some of the skills, but if you are not prepared and motivated and wanting to do it, the task then becomes difficult.
Yeah.
If you are ready and you're prepared to go and you are prepared to give value for money, if we can say that here, then whatever that task is, we will be able to overcome it. So as you've said, from what you have read, from what the ministry has released, it should not be too difficult an issue. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean that you will not hear a lot of cries. You will not hear the issue.
Oh, they've started. I've started hearing already.
That the ministry is being unreasonable. And how do they expect me to do X and to do Y? And why do I have to do this? We all know why we have to do it.
Yeah.
By now, I think we should understand that COVID-19 has brought on some unprecedented things. There are many things that we did in a particular way before that we can no longer do them that way. The way we treated certain things before, we can't no longer treat it that way because COVID-19 has made sure that that doesn't happen again. New protocols, the new way of doing business, of teaching, of passing on your lessons, they have all changed.
Yeah.
And I just want to appeal to people. Whether you are a teacher, an educator, you are a parent, you are a student, whatever role you play or wherever you fit, to understand, hey, I do not believe, honestly so, that the ministry or the government or the minister or the PS or the chief education officer, the district education officer, I do not believe that any single one of them is out to get anybody or to make a life uncomfortable for anyone, to make your job even more difficult than it already is. I don't think so.
No.
Hope I am not wrong with my thinking. But whatever decisions that are being taken, whatever protocols are being established, whatever it is they are requiring of you as a teacher or a student or a parent, I think it is because they believe that these things are going to make the learning environment safer. They are trying to ensure that our children gets maximum. And let's not forget that we have lost a lot of school hours already.
We have.
During the period of the lockdown, even when that was finished, school-specific still had issues in the earlier days with the introduction of virtual learning and acclimatizing themselves, both students and teachers, with the apparatus that was needed. The fact that there were some teething problems, and probably still are, because you're dealing with technology, and
probably still will be,
and there still will be, most likely, because with technology and the online stuff, and so there's no telling when you would have some shortcomings, some breakdown, some failure of some nature. And these are no excuses. These are the realities, and we have to address our minds, and the officials who have a responsibility to ensure that these things work need to continue to do the assessment, do the evaluation, work with the service providers to try to ensure that we have as flawless as possible a system that will lend itself to the online or virtual learning. But in the meantime, I do plead for people to make the necessary efforts to get things done. And I expect, as you say, that there will be some people crying foul. There will be a number of persons who are going to diligently and dedicate themselves towards the task at hand. And I say, God bless your good soul. You go beyond the call of duty from time to time for our children, for the nation's children, wanting to make a meaningful contribution.
Of course.
And for those who do not feel that they have a responsibility or an obligation to do likewise, I say to you, let's do some introspection.
Of course.
Let's look back. And you may be unhappy for a number of reasons or for a specific reason. You may not be as motivated as you should be because you think you have been shortchanged in one way or another by one person or the other, whether it's the minister or the PS or the prime minister or your parliamentary rep. Whatever it may be, whoever that person may be, whatever the situation that caused you to get a little uptight and upset may be, remember and try to remind yourself that your job, a job that you accepted, and something that some of us take as a vocation, is to impart knowledge and skills and build character into the young minds.
I want to go back on something that you just mentioned, and give my view and opinion on what I think it should be. As an educator, it's important to understand what your motivation for teaching is. And I want to speak specifically to teaching. We've developed a culture where you want to teach, but your motivation is what the salary is going to be. And not that anything is wrong with that, but it must not be your sole purpose. So if something go wrong with your salary, you're vexed. You're not teaching. You're upset. If you dislike the Minister of Education, well, you don't want to do nothing the Ministry of Education put in place because you find, well, what she's saying ain't making sense to you because you done block off your mind already to everything that she has to say, right? And that's why we speak about making negativity consume you. It consumes you to a point where you don't even see positivity anymore. Everything just becomes negative. And I want you to understand that teaching, like nursing as well, is something that you have to make up your mind to do. It is something that you have to say, there will be challenges. We expect challenges, but at the end of the day, my motivation comes from the fact that little Johnny couldn't read 2 months ago, but now he's reading, or at least he's able to identify the main sight words. Or that Susie had a problem with math. And because of my innovative teaching methods, because of my differentiated learning skills, I was able to get Susie to see math in a different light, and look how well Susie is doing now. This must be your motivation. It must not be your sole motivation, but it must be your main motivation. You know, for some people, teaching is just a pastime to get you from point A to point B. For some people, they are dedicated to the task. They've been doing it for a lot of years. They understand the trials. They went through even more than some of what the young teachers now are going through. And they understand at the end of the day what I get from it. That feeling that I get when my students succeed. That feeling I get when my students can come and say, Miss, you know, you're the best teacher I've ever had. Or when students that you've had in the past still meet you and call you Miss. I still have students that has meet me and call me Miss.
You like that, eh?
Of course I like that. I love it. I still have students that meet me and call me Miss. Or the bond that you develop with these students, or knowing that you have made a difference in another person's life, that you have helped to mold and shape an individual that would be a productive contribution to society. Nothing can take away from that feeling, Mr. Bora. Absolutely nothing. So that brings me to the point where we had recently this week, and I'm going to mention it. I know the individual is going to be happy because this morning they were on social media talking about how their comment reached far and so on. And I want to make, I'm not going to make mention of the person because I don't want to give relevance to the person. But the comment that the person made, and I wanted to respond to the comment, but I said, you know what? If I respond to the comment, that gives what the person says relevance. And sometimes we have to understand on social media, people can say things, you know, they can give their opinions and whatnot on social media, but guess what? When you respond to it, when you engage them, you give them relevance. So some people just need to comment and let their comment die. You have to just let it die. But this comment, it upset me a bit, and I'll tell you why. So the comment spoke to teachers having to report to school on Monday. They were asked, I mean, it was the beginning of the semester, and the teachers were asked to report to school for whatever reason, whether it's to submit lesson plans, whether it's to plan with the rest of the rest of the teaching fraternity on what they're going to do going forward in their specific schools. You know, what your classroom is going to look like, what you are expected to do, whatever the reason for them going to school. Now, this individual, educated as she may be, took to social media and made the most uneducated statement. And it goes that teachers wasted money and went to school on Monday and were unproductive. And it was a very uneducated statement, Mr. Bola, coming from an educated person. Because first of all, if you are asked to report to your place of work, whether you are asked to report to just sit down in classroom and watch the blackboard, whether you are, which is not, I don't believe that is what they were asked to do. Whether they were asked to go to school to prepare their classrooms for the students to come in on whatever day, whether they were asked to report to school just to have a 10-minute meeting with the principal, whatever they were asked to do, they were asked to report to their place of work. The minister didn't ask them to go in town and stand up on the bus terminus and then return home. She did not ask them to come and sit down in the ministry and spend 6 hours of doing nothing. She asked them to report to their place of work. Now, it is up to them when they report to their place of work, if they are not being engaged by their principal or whomever else, to find something productive to do. Because, mind you, the semester would have started on Monday, which means that teachers should have already had their lesson plans and their unit plans and so on already available, which means that they should have been putting plans together given the circumstances, knowing that we are at a place where there's a possibility that we are re-entering into online learning. They should have been putting plans, touching base with other teachers, troubleshooting if they need to, finding out what the issues were. And this is not for all teachers. And I'll tell you, my son and I use my children as an example. My son goes to Seventh-day Adventist school in grade 6. On Sunday night, Mr. Bowler, his teacher had already set up her classroom Khan Academy account, posted assignments for the students to be engaged with on Monday morning. On Monday morning, bright and early, she sent us all parents an email with additional work for our children to do on Monday. Same thing happened yesterday and today. And I say this to say that is a teacher who is fully prepared for the semester to come. She understood the fact that students were not going back to school, but the teaching should not stop because they were not engaged in a classroom setting. And I wish and I hope that most or more teachers did that, because then it would mean that students on Monday and Tuesday was not aimlessly just roaming around doing nothing, when you could have, as a teacher, taken the initiative to provide your students with instructions, because there is already a platform set up for that. Most schools are already using Edmodo. Why is it that on Monday morning you have no work prepared to provide with your children with? Already knowing and understanding that school would have been delayed in opening. But does that mean that instruction must be delayed as well? So are we saying that somebody must sit down and spell out in black and white every single thing that we need to do? Okay, school will be delayed. So you have to report to school on Monday, and when you report to school, walk into the gate, rest your bag down, straighten out your class, go online, log into Zoom or Edmodo, post the work for your children, make sure that they have work from 8 to 2, log out, make sure that you report to the principal, pick up your bag, go home, go on the terminus, take a bus. Is that what we are looking for? Somebody to spoon feed us?
Well, not everyone goes on the terminus, because not every teacher teaches in St. George. Yeah?
But you understand where I'm coming from.
I understand where you're coming from, and I don't know that I can be a good judge in this situation. But I want to be as impartial as I possibly can. And like you have said, there must have been a valid reason for the request to have been made that teachers attend the place of work or the school within which they perform their duties on Monday last. Yes? When the comment was posted, the question that I beg to ask is whether or not that the individual who posted the comment had an opportunity to speak with or get some sort of report from the majority of teachers on island or who have participated in Monday's activity. Because you may have cases where one or two or some schools probably being totally unprepared, or maybe having a principal or a head of department or what have you, who were not totally ready for the reopening on Monday. And so the teachers who attended the school on that day felt that they did not achieve much. That could be a case. It could be that some of those teachers, or one or two of those teachers, may have reported that to the individual or through a third party. It just goes back to what we've been saying time and time again. Why do we posting on things on social media? Is it because we want to inform people, educate people, promote ourselves, or make someone else look bad as though they don't know what they're doing? So we do have, from time to time, isolated events in the full scheme of things. Yes? But for some of us, it makes more sense to us, and it promotes us as individual, or it advances the cause that we want to be pushing.
Yeah.
By we selectively taking that one bad apple,
Yeah.
or that unfortunate sin that occurred,
Mm-hmm.
and magnify it in the eyes of the public.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we say sometimes to those who peruses the social media platforms, who read a lot of these comments and postings, to be careful. Always try to verify, or at least if you can find out what is the rationale, what is the hope of that individual, what are they after, what do they hope to achieve
Yep.
from putting in that.
Yeah.
Because I dare say, without having all of the first-hand information, that it was a waste of time for all teachers on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in my heart that some of them felt it to be a valuable engagement, because as the protocols that came from the ministry indicates, while we are giving broad guidelines as to how we'd like to see things pan out from next Monday, the 11th, I think it is, school specific, my school, your school, the other school, must, within the environmental circumstances that we have, the spacing, the size, the number of students that we have to engage, how many classes or classrooms do we have? Can we accommodate all of our students at one time?
Yeah.
And that must be a discussion that the principal, the school manager, in cases where you do have that, the heads of departments, the regular teachers, must at least have a session or two to make a determination.
Right.
Do we follow what the ministry has asked us to the letter by only bringing in our exit classes, and all the others get the tutelage via the platforms, the virtual means? Who determines that?
Yeah.
And from my understanding, this is not a function or a duty solely left to the Ministry of Education or the minister or the PS or the chief education officer.
Absolutely.
I think they give guidelines,
Yep.
and they are expecting school specific
Yes.
after the meeting of the minds and a determination based on all the factors laid out. Population of the school, size of the building, ability to socially or physically space out the children, all of those things. Where do they eat lunch? Do we
Strategic
have
planning, yeah.
do the strategic planning? And I thought Monday, when
Would
they
have
were
been.
asked
Yeah.
to go in,
Yeah.
part of that, if not all of it, may have been the reason why they went in. So to say, as an individual, that teachers using a broad brush, painting everyone, wasted time, I do not want to subscribe and agree with that statement.
And I agree fully with that, Mr. Bola. It is very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate that we are at a place where the people who are supposed to be imparting knowledge, teaching our children the critical thinking skills, teaching our children to be independent minded, are not so themselves. And this is not, I'm not going to paint everybody with a broad brush, because like I said, I've had varying experiences. My own personal experience as a parent has not been a bad one, because my child has been at least one of my children have been continuously engaged from Monday. So I do not see a problem there. However, the other child is yet to receive any form of assignment or classwork or so on. And being an educator myself, I would give her things to read, and she has missed a big chunk of her last term, so she would have acquired all the notes that she would have missed, and been reading and understanding and asking questions on things that she would have missed. But not all parents have the capacity to do something like that, have the time, have the drive to be able to do these things. And that is where teachers come in and proper planning come in, because it is not as if we are in a unfamiliar territory. we understand. And from the time we heard of the cluster and we heard of the curfew and so on, in teachers' mind already it should be spinning.
And the possible lockdown.
Lockdown. Yes. In your mind already, it should be spinning, what do I do next? In the event that January comes and I am unable to engage my children in the classroom, what do I do? My lesson plan is run from on a weekly basis. So I want to cover XYZ on the first week and XYZ on these things should have already been outlined. Because if you had to go back in school on Monday, so are you saying to me, Mr. Bowler, that if the children were, if the Ministry of Education had said that school will open on Monday, that no teacher would have been ready, that the children and teachers would have gone to school into an unproductive setting, is that what this individual is trying to
so it's
say?
now the individual and not Mr. Bowler, because a while ago you said, are you saying to me, Mr. Bowler? And I was about to correct you to say, no, I am not saying that. I am saying that they should be prepared. And in fact, with all of what you said, added to that, I think at least a week or so before the scheduled reopening of school, there was an announcement that was made public that there is a strong possibility that the very first week of school they may not have, and that the ministry, along with its officials and the teachers, would use that timing, I think, was it this week or last week or whenever,
to put a plan in place.
To put a plan in place and to engage each other and so. My dear Senator, I know you didn't want to call her name. It's a little unfortunate to
I didn't want to say
put that statement out without qualifying it.
Yes.
You know? Because it made it look as though it was a waste of time, energy, and money, as you say, for everybody. And I do not think so. I do not subscribe to that.
Yeah.
You know? I believe that if there are some people, if you communicate with them, will tell you that they going out on Monday was a valuable thing for them. And they would have achieved much from the engagement with other staff members and management on Monday.
But not only that, Mr. Bora. Let's play devil's advocate and let's say that a wide cross-section of teachers did communicate that they had an unproductive day. As an educator herself at a higher tertiary level, would it not have been more helpful, more effective, instead of going on social media and posting such an uneducated comment, such a biased comment, and I must say it's biased because it gave no solution to the problem, it gave no resolutions, it gave nothing. All it did was highlight how politics can change someone's view of a situation. Because being an educator herself, the first question I would ask is, well, did you have lesson plans in place? Are all of your lesson plans well thought of? Do you have to do maybe further research on activities that you would want to incorporate now that you have to use more differentiated learning? Is there something that maybe I can, as an educator myself, assist you in completing? These are the kind of productive things that you must engage in. You see, and that's why I often say we are always part of the problem and we never want to be part of the solution. And as you famously say, Mr. Bola, sometimes there are people who find a problem for every solution.
Of course.
And not a solution for any problem. Because I remember very clearly when we went on lockdown in March, cries of the teachers and the parents and so on that students had no devices. Devices came, then there was a complaint that teachers have no devices now. Now that they're in the process of providing teachers with devices, you have the claim of, the blended approach. It's students having to go into school. Then there was the complaints of the teachers that there was not sufficient time, and the parents as well. Oh, why children can't go to school every day? Then you had the complaints of them when they went back to school every day. Oh, we risking the lives of the teachers. And then now that they are in school, they went to school on Monday. There was no student in school. This same individual in her comment spoke about risking the lives of teachers. Now, how is that risking their lives when they are amongst themselves? There are other. I have to come to work every day. You have to go to work every day. There are other employees all over Grenada who have to go to work. So, is it that are they at a different class? I don't understand the comment. Like the context of that comment, it just didn't sit well with me. Are we making excuses now on behalf of teachers just because we feel that we must go against something that the Ministry of Education say? And it was very unfortunate. The comment was very unfortunate, very counterproductive. And I found it very, very distasteful. And that's why when I spoke about young individuals in politics these days just picking up the old ways and how frightening it was. This is what I mean. Here you have an individual with the capacity, with the education, with the literacy and understanding to make a difference in the education system, and took their time to make such an unfortunate comment.
Well, I hope that would be the last, understanding that the comment made did not have much value in assisting with the present problem. And we have to accept the fact, and that has been said time and time again, that COVID-19 is very dynamic, very fluid, that things about it is learnt daily, things change all the time, so there is no one size fit all, there is no permanent plan on what you can and should do for that. But we need to know and be reminded that from time to time the solutions are going to change. They have to be tweaked.
Yeah.
And I think the Minister for Health did an excellent job yesterday. I think we do have a caller there.
We do.
We did not open. Good morning, caller. Thank you for calling.
Good to you, sir.
Hi,
Very
good
well.
morning.
Very well. Good year. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, and happy New Year to the lady too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Miss Duncan,
Yes.
you have the master of the art sitting there to you, so you shouldn't talk about the young politicians adopting the old ways. This man have a fire. No, I followed him. He didn't know that. I followed him a long time. So when I say something, I know what I'm saying. This man is an art. He have the sense of the art, right? As a politician, in bracket. And that's the reason why he's there with you. He won't argue with me, because I developed this art. I will say to you, ma'am, maybe you should leave the doctor. He could handle that. And go back into the teaching profession. Because you see, what you're talking about is so deep, maybe that you don't even understand. Very deep as a young teacher understand. You see, you have to develop the science of teaching. And no university could give you the total science of teaching. The science of teaching have to be in you.
Correct.
By strategies.
Yeah.
How you conceive things. How you analyze things, and how you're going to handle it. So you have to develop that for yourself with the help of maybe the other institution like the university. But for you, you have to because the science of teaching is different to every teacher.
Yeah.
What I will develop as a science of teaching to impart to my student, you will have a different strategy to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So even though we go to the same university and learn the same thing, inside of us are wired differently to have different methods. I remember having to sit under lecturers whilst working with government and raise issue. I was told by my lecturer, one of them, but you know, this gentleman have 1,000 ways to tell you the same thing. And I become cynical, and I got angry, because you see, I have a mind of my own. We have problems in our unit, and I have serious responsibility with my staff. And you are lecturing to us now change so we could better manage our staff. And you feel what I'm saying, I have too much of diverse ways to impart, and that is wasting time. But I know inside of me that the way I will speak to Tom I cannot speak to Harry the same way. Harry will have a different way of absorbing what I will say to Tom. So I have to speak Tom's language, but I have to speak a different language to Harry in order for they both to absorb, so I will fulfill my objective of managing my unit. That is teaching. So when I wrote the Ministry of Education many, many years ago, and identified that I had a problem in that teaching resource, and I outlined where the problem was, and told them what they had to do, because let me tell you something. You see this, what you call continuous education, that I call it now, the new system with the common entrance. That is my baby. I conceptualized this, and I wrote the Ministry of Education, outlining to them exactly what they have to do and what it will cost. Because you see, you're sending children, and you made the point that you're sending children to school who is not fitting or been to a secondary school. And so they go right through the system and they can't get a subject. They go right through the system and sometimes they get one subject. No, that child was not prepared before to enter the secondary school. So even though the child had the age, you were supposed to develop the child till he reached the capacity of going to the secondary school, so you don't send that child to the secondary school without anything in his head, right? So everybody will have the chance, but not because you reach the age you're not ready. So when that child is ready, then you have to develop the child to the level that, yes, I could send him there, so he have a good start to go in there. So that's why I said to them, they had to do what they call a continuous education. Don't send all the 11-year or the 10-year, because my child was ready at 9, and they say you're too young. So then you send them at a time when they are ready, when they could absorb, when they could take the load of the secondary school, because moving from the primary into the secondary is a big jump, you know? And so I said the continuous education where you send those that are ready and those that are not ready, you wait, and even though they get to the school living age, they will go to the secondary school. You wait until they're ready and you send them in. So then I proposed for the teaching resource, here's what I want you to do, Ministry of Education. Teaching is a big job, and you don't send anybody to teach. So here's what I will do from the primary. I will do a chart, a billboard, and have it posted in every single primary and secondary school saying, to be a teacher, I must develop these principles. And under that headline, you put the principles of teaching there, the qualities, the discipline that you have to be a teacher. You should know what you want to do from the primary. So when you get up into the secondary school, that billboard is there to remind you again, because you consolidate now. To be a teacher, I must follow these set principles. So you read it, and it's in your mind, it's engraved in your mind. And if you don't want to be a teacher, then you don't have, well, he's not interested. When you get into the touch-free side of it, the same thing happens. To be a teacher, because you're going on the exit now. To be a teacher, here is what I have to cultivate. I should have cultivated in the primary school. But it's there, so that's what I want to do. So you consolidate so much there that's engraved in you that is my professional. So that's what I want to be when I come out from CC or the university. I go in and teach. So you base but notwithstanding that, we are going to select you rigorously to see if you have this or retain this set principles. So we interviewed at the level that we know that you are the right person with the right attitude for teaching. We select you. If we pick up that you doesn't have, you're missing so much, we don't select you. So we will not put the wrong person into the teaching profession, because this is transforming what you have into somebody else for their future. So you have to be very, very careful. Now, I have to say that they did accept it, and it comes down to where they have this system that they call what you call is what you call the abbreviation of the common entrance. What
CPEA.
you call it? The
CPEA.
CPE. It end up in the CPE. So I qualify that now. But I say children is still slipping through. They're still slipping through. That the wrong student is going on to the secondary school. So we have to pay attention to that. But if you have a managerial system, the education department is the chief managerial area, and therefore that area again should not have anybody who create problems in this primary school and secondary school. You post them to the Ministry of Education. No. That's a body that should have the best. So you won't transform problem people, and as I know it, from the school system into the education system, which is the brain of the ministry. you have to have the best. Once you have the best now, that is your management system. And it trickles down now to the school management, who have to follow the management system of the education system. So you have the principal there with his staff. So the principal have a role to inform his staff, which is the teachers, to guide the students. So even though the ministry doesn't come up with something, the principal should come up with something and then pass it back to the ministry.
Yeah.
You have to control the staff. So staff, we're not waiting on the ministry to come back to work. We have to go. So you set out your task as a principal to have all your teachers, because this is school. It's school. And you have your system set where you're going to go back at the end of the Christmas period. You must go back to school. You don't leave school yet. The school ain't closed down, so you have to go back to school. So the principal have to take the lead to prepare his teachers not to go back to the school, whether the Ministry of Education say go back or not. If they said no, they said no, but you're already prepared. So I'm blaming it not on the Ministry of Education, but also the principals of all the schools who's be interacting on that level with each other, so they don't put pressure on the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education have to put pressure. No, you see, management has a science, and we generally have to develop within politics. That's why I can't be a politician. You know, you have to develop the science, and the science must be based on honesty.
Yeah.
You must be teaching for a result. So you say, well, what is the purpose of my teaching?
Yep.
My teaching is to turn out lawyers and doctors and professionals.
Yep.
I'm proud of that. You know, that's why I'm teaching. I'm teaching for results, positive result. And I'm not a teacher where everybody who passes on may hand the job out. No. You know, it shouldn't happen. And so the teaching part of it, the Ministry of Education and the teachers who are applying for the job, they must apply themselves. You like the job. If you don't like the job, don't apply, because it's a very serious vocation. The teaching fraternity will determine the kind of country you have to manage and what happens to your country and the citizens of the country. You want the best at the top.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So I'm saying I compliment you for raising the issue, and Miss Duncan, I think you had to be a good teacher, wonderful teacher there, because I think you have the principles of teaching, and you may have a task in your hand, as I say, to put that in print and let the Ministry of Education adopt these things and be very serious. Even though they have to get rid of some teachers, they'll have to do that, to save the institution of teaching. We must do that. And Mr. Bola,
Thank you.
You may have to allow her the latitude, hold the foot there, and let her go back there. Do I understand you was a teacher too?
Well,
but I think she's deep, because university still, or
yeah,
Yes,
she's still
last year.
studying.
right. Well, by the time you leave university, you're going to be a professor.
Well, we thank you for all the great things you hope for us all in 2021. We want to wish you God's guidance and blessings, and hope that you as well will get an opportunity to achieve some of the goals that you have set
I did my
yourself.
part on the outside here.
Well, thank you so much. As per usual, we appreciate your comments.
Have a great day, sir.
Have a good one yourself. I just wanted to read a comment that someone posted there, Ms. Duncan. He says, "Good morning to all. All I can say, I am sorry for some of our children. We as parents have to do what we can to help them with education. Otherwise, dog eat their supper." Something that my mother used to say, that word, dog eat your supper. I didn't understand it until very later on in life. But God is good.
Yes. We have a
They
caller.
will make it.
We have a call on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Duncan. Good morning, Mr. Bola.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everything.
We're very good. Thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Bola, it is important. Whatever anyone got a job, right?
Yes.
They should have a purpose. And that purpose is the right purpose. Why you take that job. Let's say a policeman take a job to make money, right? And not to help, to protect and to serve. That policeman would not be a successful policeman. A teacher take a job to teach people. But his purpose is to make money. That teacher will not be a successful teacher. And it will hinder the student that teacher is teaching. Because that teacher only see the purpose of teaching is to make money and not to educate and to impact positive thoughts in the student that he's teaching. Right? Because see, one of the things that a lot of people get a job because they may broke, they don't have money, and they want a job because to make some money. That is not the purpose. That's not the right purpose. I always said, once you know your purpose and have a right purpose, and you get a job, you will be successful. Same as for a student, same for a teacher, a principal, in any workplace. Once you know the purpose and have the right purpose, why you enter there, you will be successful in life. Right? Successful life. And that comes by that person should be disciplined, respectful, and love for people. Because if you love people, right, you want to impact the knowledge that you have to others. And I always say in life, some other teacher may have 12 subjects with a certain distance in education, but never tell yourself the student that you're teaching should not reach higher than in a higher position in anywhere than you, because you know how wonderful and good it will be that you know, like as a teacher, or as a teacher, and she impact knowledge to that student, and 20 years back, that student become the principal, may become the president of America. You know how glad and wonderful Ms. Duncan will be?
Yep.
Feel?
Yep.
She will feel good because she will say to herself, she did a good job in molding and educating that young man or that young lady. And to me, as an adult, as a parent, I can understand how people who know better, right, know better, it could lead people down a rabbit hole, feed them with information that is not true. That's not true. I have to say, if you love people and care about people, I want to impact people and have people go the right way in life. You will impact to them positive things that is true to help develop their lifestyle and the country. Whatsoever positive thing they do, it benefit the country. What if we impact them, if we teach them things that would destroy their life, it also help destroy the country. So, Mr. Bola, you all have a wonderful day. God bless you.
You for your comments, Ms. Duncan. I just want to get back to that comment that parent I thought posted. And while it is very simple in its words, I think it's instructive that all parents should feel likewise, should know and should have the purpose in wanting to assist the students, because sometimes we overemphasize the need for the teachers and the work. While what they do are very important, and we implore upon them to do it in a manner that is going to help the students to make them better, parents have a significantly important role,
of course,
in ensuring that their children get the kind of education that will help them to get by in this very challenging world. And maybe a lot of us may not have the ABC of it or knowing everything about it, but the constant encouragement and push and so is important.
Yeah.
I think we need to
take the call. Yeah. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Mr. Bola.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing, sir?
I am well, thank God. I am well.
Well, I think I was listening. I heard my name Holly and this morning.
You did?
Well, I said hello to you, and I wish that your 2021 is going to start well, and I also hope that you put the wine away. They say as wine age,
so
it gets better.
Okay. So you're doing this, otherwise everything all right?
Everything is good, thank God. Everything is good. I think I have health. I think, the year started very quiet. Yes, I haven't been to the doctor.
So the black wine?
Yeah, well, when we drink the black wine, I will feel better.
Black wine, Emma?
I don't know why else we doing it with.
Cake?
Yeah, I'm not too much a big fan of cake, but a little slice here and there won't kill.
Even though it's like a pizza bun.
Yeah, a little thing don't kill.
Yeah, man. So, you don't want to tell me when yet?
No. I've given you a lot of dates in 2020 that never worked out.
Oh,
So
don't do me that now.
So I'm not giving you any date in 2021, but what I can promise you is that based on plans, early in 2021 I should be there, because I've missed every opportunity for different reasons though in 2020. On one occasion when everything was planned and I should have been there, my colleague in here had to be out, and so I was the only person to man the program, so I couldn't leave. And, there were different reasons, like I say, but I'm very hopeful.
I want to put a little joy on my heart.
Well, you can always be joyful, because what you could rest assured is that Mr. Bola will be coming to Carriacou.
I want to open my little book and mark the date and thing.
When I have a date that is very, very possible, I'm going to call you and let you have it.
You call me?
Yes, I will.
You call me and you have my number.
Oh God, Mr.
We
Mills,
definitely have your number.
You give us your number. Except you have a new number now again.
I have a question about Miss Duncan. I want to answer it.
Okay.
I'm not good with riddles,
Eh?
I am not good with riddles.
But who tell you it was a riddle?
I'm quite sure it's a riddle.
Suppose the man want to ask you to give him your hand in marriage. You can answer that?
That's a riddle too. Go ahead, Mr. Mills.
No, but it's a riddle.
It's a riddle, I tell you. Go ahead.
But Mr. Bola.
I'm not answering. Miss Duncan will.
Why Grenville tongue is look like a cricket pitch?
Why Grenville tongue looks like a cricket pitch?
Is not look like, but it's like a cricket pitch.
I don't know. I have absolutely no idea.
Well, then you don't know Grenada at all.
Nah.
She's young too, you can't blame her.
She's young.
Yes, a couple of the places that she know, I have brought her there.
But I know
Yeah,
you
so
know the answer.
Of course.
Of course he knows the answer, and that's his area too. What's the answer, Mr. Bowler?
Because there's a bowler in both end of Grenville.
Oh my
And a
God.
batter in the center.
She didn't know that. You didn't know that when you enter in Grenville, if you're coming from north, from St. Patrick's side, the very first business place, supermarket, as you enter Grenville, is a bowler. It was RM Bowler. And if you're coming from St. David's side, and you entering into the town again, it was HM Bowler. The two brothers, RM, HM. Yes, RM to the top, HM to the bottom. HM used to be, I think it was HM that used to be in church, like the Anglican church, something like almost a priest.
Well,
yes?
the teaching sheet. Something.
Right.
Well,
And then in the middle of the street, there used to be Bata store. Well, they don't exist again. So I knew where Bata was. I was young, but I do know. So at least, Mr. Mills, you give her a bit of history and the reason why Grenville is considered as a cricket pitch. Yes.
Carriacou teaching Grenada.
Well, that's a good way to end that, man. Carriacou teaching Grenada. Mr. Mills, you have a fantastic day today, and of course, I hope that all your dreams for 2021 will come through. It's a new year. We have to plan. Sometimes they don't all work out, but at least it makes sense planning.
Question.
Yes.
For the Christmas, you drink any black wine already?
No, sir, I did not.
And you depend on drinking any?
Well, with you.
Yes. No, I bet you another riddle again. Where you ever taste the sweetest black wine?
Where I ever taste the sweetest black wine?
Tell you when me ever taste it.
In my mouth.
Eh?
In my mouth.
In my mouth. But I tell me something. I say you taste it in 10 minutes, you taste it in your mouth.
In my mouth, Mr. Mills. We can't take too much today. Hold some for later on. So.
Yeah, hold some for later, but
Yes.
you have me there.
Yes. Take good care,
You take care and have a nice day, Miss Duncan.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Have a good one. Bye. Mr. Mills. Never miss. Always comes up with something to crack you up a little bit.
Of course. You have to have a little light.
And that too is important. But getting back to the issues at hand, as it relates to schools and the reopening, and of course, the fact that COVID has brought about a lot of challenges and a lot of changes in the way we did things. It's no longer the same way for a lot of things. Many different protocols in place, different things we have to observe if we want to get by. We have to learn, as it is being coined, to live with the new normal.
Absolutely. We have another call on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, happy New Year to all.
And same to you.
It was an education thing. Education is important. Just after the lockdown, my teacher telling me, all they want to give us the money, but we get it easy. But so as it's time now that the government have to try to trim all overhanging. All that I have to say and take care.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Overhanging.
Well,
But Mr. Buller,
that could have a lot of meanings.
a lot of meaning. I want to stick on a statement that you just made. I was having that conversation on a bus coming down, that the sooner we learn to live with COVID, then the sooner we would learn to go back to normal. Because living with COVID will become the new normal.
The new normal.
And the sooner we learn to do that, the sooner we stop fighting against everything that is meant to help us adjust in a world with COVID, the sooner we would be more comfortable living with COVID. You know, we seem to not understand or play ignorant to the gravity of the situation when it comes to what COVID has done and what COVID will do, because it's not over yet.
Yep.
What it will do to our societies, to our education systems, to our economic statuses. It will do a number on all of these things. If we do not learn to, if we do not accept that fact and learn to live with the changes and learn to make or turn those changes into norms, then we would have a difficult time. And it would take a longer time for us to start readjusting.
Adaption.
Yes.
We have to be able to adapt. And may I say here that part of the reason I believe, for my own assessment, why some people resist and fight back and push back and encourages others to do it is not simply because they do not accept them as the correct things to do, but the fact that they are not in sync with those who are prescribing that we do it. In other words, we are becoming politically motivated. We are already politically charged as a people, liking our different sides, and that's within our remits to support and to like and to decide, I love this party over that party. But the issue at hand is we are facing and faced with and living with a pandemic.
Yeah.
And there are certain prescribed things that we can do and should do that is going to limit our possibility of contracting the virus. There are certain things that are being prescribed, as we call them the protocols, that will assist us in getting by during a COVIDious time easier than if we did not have those protocols in place. But for some of us, we comment against it, we resist it, we find reasons why we should not accept and obey it, simply because the political directorates that are now making those pronouncements and are in charge, even though we understand that these pronouncements come about as a result of medically tested principles and advice from the medical fraternity. And that it's not just in Grenada, but in several other countries. I mean, look at Barbados just went on 2 full days of lockdown because they were seeing a spike, and the authorities, being advised by the medical fraternity, felt that that was something they had to do, and that they're going to do reassessment and make a determination whether now they can work with just a curfew, or if they would have to go back on full lockdown, or whether they can open up totally now again. And these are trying times. And as we've said earlier on, COVID is still very fluid. Things change very rapidly. And so the protocols that you put in place will have to change from time to time. And I hear the question, and I hear the mumbling and the rumbling and the quarreling. Oh, yesterday all you said this, today all you said, because this is what this period requires. And let us not allow the difference of political opinions to cause us to become so resistant that our own lives and the lives of our loved ones can be endangered. And so, for the teachers, we empathize with you. Of course, it's going to be tough having to teach some of your students virtually and to be online with them, and at the same time some of those who are in exit classes, as the ministry protocol says, that are coming face to face, you may have some of those classes, and now you have to devise ways in which, because you have different periods, how do I do this different? How do I make sure that I engage all of my students within a certain time frame on a daily basis? So it's not just magical or just an easy walk through the park, but just bashing all of those who are trying to make a system work, a new blended approach, as we call it, that has not been tried and tested many years before, but only because of COVID, we had to introduce a lot of new things. How does bashing the system and quarreling and talking about people as though they have absolutely no sense or no feelings, how does that help you to do better in a time like now?
Absolutely.
So, I'm really appealing to everyone. We need to be a little more tolerant, and in these times it calls for greater level of tolerance for each other, for even those whom we despise in some ways, because it is not normal times. But to remind parents as well that you need to be more proactive with your children and the education. We have lost quite a lot of teaching or schooling hours as a result of COVID. There are a lot of students who have missed much for the last term in school and may possibly miss again this term for varying reasons. Yes, while the ministry have provided all of or most of the devices, and the teachers have their devices as well, we cannot yet say that we have a 100% totally reliable internet connectivity. From time to time, we still do have little
and not just here, eh?
Yes.
This is not just a Grenada issue.
And I know that the government has expended serious resources in a contract with Digicel, a PPP arrangement, to update and improve. So we are far better off now than where we were, say, 5 years ago. But still there are some troubles and some issues, and sometimes there are some students, depending on their location in any particular time of day, may have difficulties. There are some teachers who, depending on where they live, wanting to do a virtual class, may have difficulties in reaching all of those students. That being said, and that being understood, should not be irrational for you not attempting on every occasion to do the best you can with what is available to you.
Absolutely.
Yes? And so while we are not perfect, while we know you are not perfect, but we expect, each of us, teachers should expect that from the officials, and officials expect it from the teachers. Parents expect it from the children. Children expect it from the parents. That at all times, we will make 100% effort for things to work out properly. It may not necessarily work out properly. We may not get all our ducks in the rows as we want them. We may not be able to touch every nook and cranny that we want to touch in the way we wish to touch them. But if we all make, what can you do or say wrong about someone's best effort?
Absolutely.
Right? And if that is being done at all times, and let's forget the babbling and wanting to get ratings, I sometimes believe, by making all kind of sarcastic comments about officials. The total disrespect sometimes that we met out to them. That doesn't mean that the officials must not respect you as a human being and as a citizen. We all need to show mutual respect to each other. But sometimes I get the feeling that because there is this freedom of movement and freedom of expression and freedom of speech, that we feel we can just do and say anything anytime, anywhere, anyhow. Let's think, what kind of society do we expect to build and to develop? And then we turn around and the same officials, the same ministerial personnel, the same parliamentary reps that we bash and we say all sorts of things in the presence of our children and put it on the social platforms. We then turn around when problems start hitting us to these people, expecting them to find solutions to the problems that we help cultivate and create.
Yeah. We have a call on the line. Let's take this call quickly. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning once again. Sorry to come back. But, Mr. Bula, I would want you to raise this again. It's a matter that I have discussed with the Prime Minister's office. I discussed with the NTRC, Flow, Digicel. The question, and I have been saying this since before, I've been doing this since before COVID. So I've been working at it for quite some time. Because I saw it coming, this what called virtual learning, and as it relates to Wi-Fi, I know WhatsApp is here. This is the way to go. For instance, you get into town and it hardly have a place where you link up transaction-wise to get a Wi-Fi to transact, even the same business that you're doing transaction with. Because there is no Wi-Fi. I propose that we have what you call a virtual city. For instance, from the time you take Springs to Happy Hill, or not Happy Hill, but Queen's Park, Cherry Hill, you shouldn't search around for Wi-Fi. The city should be Wi-Fi. The whole of the city should be Wi-Fi. So you don't have to run here and there to link up, to transact. Even businesses, the same people who are doing financial transactions, you have a problem there. So I want you to raise this with the authorities again, the importance of having this Wi-Fi place in every home in this country. It could be done. I know it can be done because based on what I got from the Prime Minister's ministry, yes, I think efforts are being made, but we have to push it. To ensure if you want this education system to work virtually, you must have this Wi-Fi place in every single home where students are, because we're going computer now. Without that, it's going to be very difficult, because I'll tell you something, even the people who are working with the service providers are saying, look, data is expensive. We can't do data to do that. It's very, very expensive. You have to do data, and so we can't really concentrate on people taking the personal data to do those things. And even the cell phone is too, the print is too small to be able to use the cell phone for these important educational stuff. So I believe we must do it sooner than later, have this Wi-Fi taking priority. So we'll have this, what they call virtual learning problem be something of the past. So I'll ask you again, sir, if you could help push those things along with the infrastructure, which will extend commercial activities to create jobs and revenue. So this is two of my pets for now. Thank you very much.
Yes, we'll continue to raise it.
Have a great day.
Have a great one. Yes. And we just like to say thanks again to that caller, but to also shout out so many people on the live who are, just sending in to say hello, good morning, Happy New Year, whatever it is, whatever message. We say Happy New Year to all of you too. We say good morning and good day to every one of you. We say to you that we need to constantly remind ourselves and each other within our household, within our neighborhood, the friends we speak to on a daily basis, either by telephone or through social media, that, COVID is still very real, that we still need to follow the protocols, that we need to continue to work together harmoniously to try to take care of the issues. Yeah. We need to remind our students that maybe while some of them may have to learn from home, that they need to get themselves in the frame of mind that would allow them to accept the learning virtually, and those who are going in, that they do it carefully.
We have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Hi,
Morning.
Yeah, Mr. Bola.
Morning, sir.
I want to ask some question, but don't answer it. When I put on,
yes.
I will hear it.
Okay.
I want to know something. Did NDC have any opposition in this country?
Go ahead, ask. We'll answer.
I want to know if NDC is any opposition. Every time GBN have news, they talking about NDC, the opposition, have to say something and this and what. I want to know. One thing I know, we have our opposition here. His name is Clement.
Yes.
So I don't know about NDC. But every time news, I the woman balling NDC as the opposition and all. What? I don't want to say things over the air.
No,
Yeah,
don't.
don't say it, please.
don't.
Because Claudette does fret me.
Don't.
Claudette does fret me and Robinson and all the fellas and them. I don't know where they come out, how they get so hot.
Well, we could
But
talk
the
about that.
problem is, one thing I know for sure, if 15 coming up in the tail just now.
We shall talk.
One thing I know for sure, that one thing I know.
Yes.
And they know me voice, and they know I don't afraid nobody. It's 15 they gain. Because I don't know where Claudette and them come out in June.
Well, they are Grenadians, yes. So let me answer you.
No Grenada?
Let me answer you when you hang up.
Yeah. I want to know if they just know Grenada.
All right.
I find they gaining too much, man.
Okay.
Clement don't even say nothing. Every time they only talking about NDC opposition, as if NDC any opposition in the country here. Take care, sir.
All right, you have a blessed day, and you're correct. The NDC as a political party do not have any official opposition status based on parliamentary opposition. The only parliamentary opposition we have is the Honorable Tobias Clement, who is now the leader of Her Majesty's opposition in the Parliament of Grenada. What we know about the NDC as a political party, they are opposed to the NNP, but they are not an official opposition in Parliament. So there are many things that this government will want to do and are doing that they will be opposed to, and they make it quite clear. However, as the caller mentioned, I don't know, and I can't say for a fact whether or not the media house, GBN, has made attempts to reach the official opposition member and did not. I can't say, but it appears as though from the regularity with which you see members of the National Democratic Congress appearing on issues that they are being given a preference to respond to certain issues or certain matters, and not necessarily the same or a similar kind of opportunity given to the official opposition member of parliament. And I'm saying that within a bracket because I am not in a position to say whether or not attempts have been made to reach the goodly gentleman and they have been unsuccessful, or whether it is just the policy of the media house not to engage him. I can't say which is correct, but the gentleman is correct. They are not the official opposition in the country. They are an opposing political party to the NNP. And, you know, yes, they are Grenadians and they do have a right to comment on issues as they see fit or as they think they should. While I believe much of what they sometimes say are not necessarily and totally factual, but this is what they choose to do. And I will only advise people, you need not get upset about it. This is democracy, and this is the way democracy operates. People will always have an opportunity to talk, whether they talk sensible, worthwhile things, or they talk a lot of nonsense. They can talk, and they will talk. And we should make absolutely no attempt to prevent them from talking. What we need to do, those of us who understand and knows the facts and are able to express it well so that ordinary minds can understand it, we need to continue to do that time and time again. We need to continue to speak the truth. We need to continue to give reliable information to people, truthful information, and just pay no mind to those who are sitting out there as obstacles, as barriers, because the point is there are so many things that happen in this country from time to time that you never hear a word being spoken about. But there are certain issues that the opposition party, the NDC, is always high on the agenda to speak about, because some things touch them more than others. Some things affect them politically more than others. And we have to accept that. And as we sometimes say in local parlance, every man sings for his supper. Yep. So if they are singing for their supper, I have no difficulty with them, in all honesty. They are doing what they think they should be doing. We must know what we should be doing and continue to do it. And our responsibility as a party in governance is to bring benefits to the Grenadian people. And we need to continue to do that, and we need to explain how we are going to continue doing it to the people so that they will have a thorough understanding of what our purpose and our mission is. Whatever the opposition or those who are opposed to us believes and want to do, of course, they too have their following. And they have the people who would believe and eat from their hands. So we should not be worried. We should always try to correct them when they make statements that are contrary to the facts and the truth. When we have the information, we need to give it out, and give it out in every medium and in every possible way, so that all of Grenada can hear it, see it, and understand it. Those who choose not to understand and accept, that is their right. We can't waste time and energy over them. What is important is that we must give them an equal opportunity to have the facts like we're giving to other people. But that is why when the Almighty created man, he gave the power of choice to us. And that goes back way back into biblical history in the book of Genesis with Adam and Eve. Choices.
Yep.
And we must understand, depending on the choices that we make, there are consequences that will come with them.
Yes.
We do make the correct choices, we follow the correct path, most likely we are going to inherit the fruitfulness and fulfillment of what is good and proper. We make the wrong choices, we follow the wrong path, most likely we are going to reap and harvest disastrous things and times. So people do have choices. Listen, try to understand, try to verify, do the fact finding, do the fact checking, but please, I want to appeal again. Do not get angry. Do not allow the negativity to consume you to the point where you get angry and say or do insensible things. Listen, I do listen sometimes when I'm able to. But if you think you cannot listen and remain calm, then don't listen to what they have to say. Yeah? But they have a right. Not a right to be telling untruth to us, but a right to speak and to give their views.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just want us to take a moment, Mr. Bola, because as time is upon us, to make an appeal, because I know that there are teachers who listen. I know that there are teachers who don't listen, but there are people who listen who will go and say how Mr. Bola and Ms. Duncan sit down today and bash teachers and all of that.
Well, I didn't think that happened.
But they're going to say it. And I know that there are going to be some teachers who will be highly offended by what we say here today, because some of what we say falls directly in their part. But what I want to charge the teaching fraternity with this new year, this 2020, with all that we've been 2021, what is wrong with me and this 2020?
I don't know. I will not correct you again.
2021, but this time I heard myself say it. What I want to charge them with is, with everything that we've been through in 2020, with all of the challenges that we have experienced, all of the things that we have acquired and learned and adapted to, or should at least have adapted to by now, that we try our best in 2021 to perfect them, to improve upon them, to add more strategies that would help improve ourselves and our teaching abilities. And I say this because there is no perfect teacher. There's no perfect person. But you can strive for excellence. You can strive to make a difference. You can look at a situation and instead of pulling out the negativity from that, you can inject some form of positivity. Because as educators, our duty is to show children different ways and means at arriving at the same resolution. We are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that children can see beyond just what's in front of them. That Mary could come to school today and hate maths, but because you are so dedicated to the task of ensuring that Mary acquires all of the skills that is necessary for her to lead a successful life, that you would go leaps and bounds to do that. That you would see beyond the challenges and hone in on what motivates you, or at least what should motivate you, what should be your main motivation as a teacher, which is ensure. And you know, it's not, they always say it's not about working hard. It's about working smart, planning ahead, doing the necessary research, being prepared for any and every eventuality. And yes, there may be times when you may have issues that you yourself cannot handle, and you may need to solicit the assistance of another colleague or the Ministry of Education or whomever it may be. But it cannot be, and I hope for 2021, that we, every time the Ministry of Education tries their best, because that's all they could do, they can try. Every time they try, we have a bunch of teachers, and it's always the same bunch, eh? A bunch of them, and you know them because they're very vocal on social media, that oppose. They provide no resolutions, because remember, we can all teach the same thing in different ways. So the ministry may be able to say, do this. But you can either, let's say the ministry say, we want all in Grenville. You could choose to pass in Guelph or St. John's or on the western side. You could choose to pass on the eastern side, or you could choose to go straight up the middle. It is up to you, whichever method works best for you and yields the best results. So instead of taking all of this time to sit and complain and find problems, let us start looking for solutions. Let us start looking for ways that we can help better the education system through example. And stop looking for ways in which we can condemn, because we pulling down, because we don't like the Minister of Education, or because we feel like this administration is, and nobody is going to tell me that these things are not politically driven. They are. Because you feel a certain way, you're not going to do anything that this person says. But at the end of the day, who is most affected by what you do? Remember, your job does not just affect you, you know. You are responsible for the growth and development of the future generation of this country.
The present and the future.
The present and the future. Mm-hmm. So whatever it is that you do, whatever decisions you make, will have a ripple effect on the development of Grenada, whether it is now or in the future. To all of the teachers who have been working hard, because there are a lot of you who have been doing and going above and beyond your call of duty, I say thank you. For those of you who are just scratching the surface, my advice for 2021 is to try and rise above. Elevate higher. Because what you want for yourself is what you should want for your students. What you see for yourself is what you should see for your students. And I really had to say that because I don't want people to feel that I am anti-teacher. Trust me, that is the furthest thing from the truth. I just want to see us get to a place in Grenada where we stop the bickering and we start looking for ways in which we can start building, improving, and enhancing the delivery of education.
Well, I'll say all services, not just education. But
well, all services, but we're talking education
today.
But the delivery of education, where a teacher can look at a student and decide that me putting John sitting in a classroom and just teaching him A, B, C, D, and 1 + 1 is 2, and 2 + 1 is 3, doesn't work for John. Maybe me and John need to go outside and stone 3 mangoes so John could learn to count 1, 2, 3 mango. You know, and things like that. Just be innovative. Be innovative. Look beyond. Try to rise above for 2021. That's all I want to see.
Well said. I could not have said what you said in the way you did say it. So I say kudos to you. I just want to add a little piece as we come to the close of the program to say adding value is important. And with all that have been said here this morning, including that last piece from Ms. Duncan, in no way are we attempting to muzzle anyone. And our intent is not for people not to speak about the ills, the shortcomings, the wrongdoings. If they exist, you must. And you should. You should bring it to the attention of those who should be listening, and those who are in charge, and those who should know better and do better. However, what we find is that there is a trend by some people, even in the teaching fraternity, that all they can do is sift through and find only negatives.
Yeah.
As was said this morning, and as I've said before, there are just some of us that are wired in such a way that we will find a problem for every solution.
Yep.
This is a new year. And I don't and will not ask you on this radio station, maybe otherwise, if we meet one-on-one, maybe when I'm out campaigning, I can ask you to lend your support to the new National Party. Because I am convinced that this is the party that is making the best effort to transform Grenada. It's not correct every time, but making the best effort. But what we're saying here now is that for the good of Grenada and its people, let us all do the job that we are being paid to do, or asked to do, or we have requested a job to do, and do it proper. Within the hours that we are expected to serve, let us serve and be of service to all who are within our care and within our reach. The time will come when we will make that political decision as to whom we would like to take over the reins of authority of our country. And that will happen. We live in a democracy. This time will come. Whether we want to argue it should be now or some other time, when it comes, we will have that opportunity. So again, I appeal to all of the teachers, because we've been talking education and teachers this morning, to please, if you felt that or you're thinking that 2021, I ain't doing nothing, reconsider.
Yeah.
If you have been thinking that, well, I ain't sure my 4% coming because the government asked for a deferral until a later date, it's okay to think that way, but that should not prevent you from performing. Yes? The argument and the arrangements and the debates and the sitting down around the table can continue, but that should not prevent you or stop you from performing. You have a duty to perform. Yeah. You have taken an oath. You have the young, upcoming minds of the nation to help mold and transform. And if you and I expect our golden years, our senior years, to be lived and to exist in peace and tranquility, we need to do what we should be doing for the younger minds today.
Yeah.
And just saying the younger minds, I want to hail out all of the younger people in our country, whichever part of the airline you are. We know a lot is being done for you, but a lot more needs to be done. We know many of you are trying and probably not making or seeing the kind of results that you expect. I want to say to you, don't give up. Some of you are going through tougher times than others. Some of you, your problems are being seen, understood, and addressed. Others still get shoved in through the cracks or underneath the sheet. But there's always an amicable way in which you can discuss your issues and trying to find solution for them.
Yeah.
With that being said, I want to now say thank you to all of the people who have participated and contributed to this morning's program. Yes. Those who have sent in messages, like someone just a while ago said, well said about the opposition, but the thing they can't take is that they believe everybody should be NDC, and if you're not, they think you're stupid. Well, if that's the way you see it or that's the way they say it, I say to them, they're making a mistake. But again, they have a right to do certain things, just let's all do it correctly. So continue to enjoy the rest of today. It was a wonderful journey with you. We really do hope that from next Monday, the implementation of the protocols and the back to school and virtual teaching would work for the next 2 weeks as the ministry have planned, and that as we move along and things change and circumstances change nationally and probably regionally, that there would be tweaking of the system and things would work out. To all your teachers, you are all very important to our nation, and you have been doing a wonderful job. Continue. And for those who have not, and they know, and those who know they have not been doing as good as they should, 2021, they start, the 6th day of January, may be a good time for some introspection and for you to start doing a little better than you did before. And that goes for all of us throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. But specific today, we wanted to address education and teachers. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. Do continue to stay safe. Continue to obey the protocols to make sure that the enemy among us, COVID-19, doesn't catch us unprepared.
Yeah. Guys, we've come to the end of our program for today. As we say here every day, in whatever you say and whatever you do, be safe, be secure. We always want to be talking with you. We don't ever want to be talking about you. Please enjoy the remainder of your day and stay tuned for the National Report. Have a wonderful day, guys.
In the wake of the first COVID-19 related death locally, Grenadians have been warned to take the virus seriously. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, January 5th, 2021, I am Rakisha St. Louis. Grenadians are being warned to take the COVID-19 seriously if we are to avoid any more deaths related to the virus. During the first post-cabinet press briefing for 2021, Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sean Charles said they have worked hard to prevent this, but Grenada is not immune to the virus. There are more than 84 million confirmed COVID-19 cases globally, and more than 1 million have died. In the Caribbean, as of January 4th, 2021, more than 300,000 cases were confirmed and 5,000 deaths. Dr. Charles made the clarion call for Grenadians to be more serious about COVID to prevent the further spread of the virus.
This is the day that we have been working so hard to prevent. This is the scenario that we have been working hard and educating the public that may occur. Grenada is not immune. We have worked hard to ensure that we remain safe. If we do not take COVID-19 seriously, it may happen again. This is not something that we welcome, but it is an outcome that the world has been dealing with since the start of this pandemic. I am asking the public once again to be serious about COVID-19. Stop the noise. We are not immune. We are not special. If we are not careful, we can have the same scenario repeat over and over again.
Government has appointed a committee which will examine all the details surrounding the first COVID-related death in the country. The committee comprises representatives from the public and private sectors, is chaired by former Chief Medical Officer Dr. George Mitchell. Combined, its years of experience in the healthcare industry.
The formation of the committee is principally and primarily to look at mechanisms and ways to ensure that as much as is practical, that we can put systems and mechanisms at play so that we can try and prevent more deaths related to COVID. And in general, I think the issue here is about putting systems in place, and I think the committee that has been announced is well placed to do just that. And when I looked at the cumulative or the amount of experience of the professionals that have been named, if my calculation is right, there's over 185 years of experience in that committee.
The Ministry of Health says healthcare providers will be among the first in Grenada to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sean Charles says once a decision is made on the type of vaccine Grenada will acquire through collaboration with the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization, frontline workers will be given priority. Grenada has already signed on to the COVAX facility with PAHO and the WHO. Dr. Charles said the expansion of the priority group will depend on the quantity of vaccine the country can obtain.
Our plan addresses which of these vaccines that we have the capacity to deploy right now, and I can tell you at present we do not have the capacity to neither store or deploy the ultra cold chain, the vaccines that require ultra cold chain. That's those that require minus 80 degrees or so. In terms of the priority for vaccination, I believe I touched on that at a previous press conference, where because of our small health workforce, we need to protect them and to ensure that they are up and functioning and keep the system running. So our frontline workers, in particular our healthcare providers, will be our priority group for vaccination. Now, of course, there are persons who have underlying conditions. They are also high up in the priority for vaccination.
Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele says Grenada's focus will be on accelerating the process for acquiring the vaccine. He is confident that with the guidance of the WHO, Grenada can bypass all the logistical and health challenges and find the right vaccine.
One of those vaccines has already been certified by WHO. That one, which is the Pfizer-BioNTech, has challenges logistically, not just for us, but for even the very same first world nations that are implementing it. You will see in today's headlines that there are questions in terms of the rate of implementation. It is because it needs what is referred to as extreme cold chain. It has to be kept at minus 72 degrees throughout its process, getting it here as well as storing it here before distribution. So it poses challenges. We haven't ruled that out. We have addressed and looked at what we would need to do to deal with the Pfizer-BioNTech if that is the one that we end up going with. There are other vaccines like the AstraZeneca that do not require that level of cold chain, that level of minus 72, that have a level of storage temperature-wise that we are accustomed dealing with, that we deal with right now with other vaccines and medications.
Minister Steele emphasized that all travelers arriving in Grenada, whether they were vaccinated overseas, are expected to quarantine at an approved facility on island. This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
Are you gonna wear your mask today? You see everywhere you go, there are rules you got to follow, so don't you say COVID-19 will delay. Take the opportunity to save your community. Don't be that guy, put a mask on your face if you're heading outside. It's your life, my life, more lives will be taken if we don't try. If you feel any symptoms, call the hotline. Stay inside until you feel fine. 6 feet away every day. Keep COVID-19 far from away. Keep Grenada safe. Be COVID-19 smart.
Welcome back. China's new ambassador to Grenada, WeiVybz, has attributed the new chapter of friendship between both countries to the personal commitment and efforts of their leaders, which have helped to deepen political mutual trust. Presenting his credentials to Governor General Dame Cecile Lagrenade on Tuesday, the new ambassador also hailed the partnership between both countries in the fights against COVID-19. He used the opportunity to assure of his willingness to further the diplomatic relations between Grenada and the People's Republic of China.
We are convinced that building on the existing good foundation, this bilateral relationship will further grow in depth and strength. Your Excellency, I am greatly honored to be appointed Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the People's Republic of China to Grenada, and at the same time humbled by the important responsibilities entrusted to me. During my tenure on this glorious post, I will exert my best efforts to further advance the relations between our two countries and the friendship between our two peoples. I am confident that in carrying out this important mission, I shall receive great support and assistance from Your Excellency and your government.
Governor General Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade spoke to the support received from the People's Republic of China that has yielded successful results. These include the National and Athletic Stadium and the Chinese Low-Income Housing Project.
Your country's foreign aid program to developing nations of our region has been steadfast. We assure you that the concessionary loans, grants, technical support, human resource development opportunities, humanitarian and debt relief are greatly appreciated by our government and people. Your Excellency, Grenada will continue to work with the People's Republic of China in the multilateral fora on issues of mutual concern as we work towards deepening the relationship between our two governments and peoples. Your Excellency, Grenada is happy to welcome you, and we look forward to the further strengthening of the relationship between our two countries. Your Excellency, I congratulate you, and I look forward to working with you.
Finally, in the news, employees and self-employed persons who are contributors to the National Insurance Scheme, NIS, can claim for sickness benefits if they have been instructed by the health officials to quarantine or self-isolate. This announcement was made Tuesday by Public Relations Officer of the NIS, Lisa Douglas, during an interview on the GIS Spice Morning Show.
The National Insurance laws makes allowances for persons who are in contact or may deem to be a carrier of an infectious disease where they have to be quarantined, that in that situation they can claim. So in the case of COVID, if you are required to quarantine or you are required to self-isolate, in which case you are not required to see the doctor, you can still claim for a sickness benefit.
A new sickness benefit claim form has been designed specifically for this purpose. It can be downloaded from the NIS website or collected from any NIS office. If applying for the quarantine or self-isolation sickness benefit, employers can certify the sick leave period. Douglas explains what needs to be done when applying.
Ensure that they get the sickness benefit, the new sickness benefit claim form, the COVID-19 sickness benefit claim form. The employee would complete their section and they would get the form to the employer.
Right.
The employer completes their section and they would e-scan and email the form to us, or it can be submitted via our website.
Okay.
Yes, so they have that option. So in those two cases, a medical report from the doctor is not necessary. Now, if it's a case where the person has been diagnosed with COVID-19, in that case,
Then
they
you
need
a medical
certificate, in which case they would use the old sickness benefit claim form. The one where the doctor is required to complete their section, state your nature of illness, your sick leave period, because in that case, you have been diagnosed with COVID-19.
That story just ended the national report for today, Tuesday, January 5th. Let's recap the top story. In the wake of the first COVID-19 related death locally, Grenadians been warned to take the virus seriously. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text. Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-86.
You need to know about self-isolation. Stay home. COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes. which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy.
To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal.
When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.